How's everyone doing? So we're going to talk some more about some Destiny 2 information today and my thoughts on a few things. But before I get too far into that, I want to kind of debunk a theory or a rumor that's been going around for the last few days. There was a Reddit post by a user called The Taken Dick, and he had pictures of what seemed to be a Void, an Arc subclass for the Warlock, a Void one for the Hunter, and a Solar one for the Titan, trying to confirm that these were the Taken King subclasses returning. Now, while these do seem kind of compelling and stuff, if you look at the character during the loading screen, during the menu screen, when people are changing their weapons at the gameplay reveal and at E3, you notice that the energy in the Warlock's hand changes colors. It changes between yellow, blue, and purple. So all they did was wait for it to be the color they wanted, took a screenshot, and supposedly said it was a leak. At least that's the impression I get, so be careful what you believe. Though I do still think there will be 3 subclasses, one for each type of energy. I do not think this is a representation of any of the third subclasses, and I do not expect to see a third subclass for each category at launch. To kind of back this up, go ahead and look at Deej's post from yesterday. From his screenshot, you notice that up in the left corner you can see that it's clearly on the Dawnbreaker subclass, but the energy in his hand is purple, which would automatically seem like Void energy. So I think that this Reddit post is officially debunked. But who knows, maybe we'll hear more from Bungie on this subject. So that's all I want to get into about that. Now let's get into the real point of this video, and that's talking about the new weapons setup and what it means for PvE and PvP, because I see a lot of people out there complaining that the new weapon setup is mainly geared to impact the PvP community, and that the PvP community is once again screwing over the PvE community, because it's a known fact that every time they nerf a weapon in the Crucible in Destiny 1, it also gets nerfed in PvE. Now, while this is shouldn't be that way, and they should be kept separate, and I hope that going into Destiny 2 they will be, so that way if a weapon's too overpowered in the Crucible, it's not getting nerfed in PvE. But the new weapon setup, if you don't already know, is no longer primary, special, and heavy. It's kinetic, energy, and power weapons. So with that being said, the kinetic and energy weapons weapon slots have the same weapons that you would have as your normal primaries for Destiny 1, including now the addition of submachine guns and sidearms. And the power weapon slot is where they moved all the sniper rifles, shotguns, fusion rifles, the new linear fusion rifle, as well as rocket launchers and grenade launchers into one big category. And they've stated in interviews that the only way to one-shot people in Destiny 2 is with power weapons and with supers. So that is definitely a PvP change, and I see how that greatly balances the Crucible. But I see a lot of people that are worried about PvE. What's that going to mean for damage output, for the raid, for boss encounters, for things like that? So to everyone saying that it's just PvP, a change geared for PvP, that is inaccurate. It is also a change geared for PvE, and I can see this in a lot of ways. I know this isn't confirmed from Bungie, but look at it this way. They built the raid to be the toughest challenge that you go through in the entire sections of Destiny, through each section. So when they do the hard mode version of the raid, so let's use Wrath of the Machines for an example. I've seen a lot of videos where people one-phase Axis, or you got people going in single, or one player taking down Axis, or 2 people, 2 manning him. And this is a perfect example of why the damage output, I believe, is being changed for PvE as well as PvP, and why it will benefit both. Now, if you look at it from a developer standpoint, Bungie doesn't want the hardest challenge they have, the hardest boss they have, to be defeated so easily that it seems like it's kind of a joke to some people. People that have run the raid so many times that they can go in one phase a boss. You know, Bungie wants it to be a challenge. They want it to be, difficult for people to do. So by changing the weapon format, it means they're going to lower the damage output, and I don't think the bosses will necessarily be bullet sponges and not be phased by primary weapons, But I think it keeps it from, maybe you have to 2-phase a boss or 3-phase instead of doing a single phase on the boss. Because from a developer standpoint, I see is they want to challenge people, and it seems like people are having too easy of a time, blowing past their challenge. So what do? They make it a little more difficult. So, and the same for strikes and all other PvE encounters. So, I don't think that the new weapon format is changed specifically for PvP balancing only. I think it has a place in PvE, and there's a reason why Bungie is changing the format for PvE as well as PvP to make a more balanced Destiny overall. And this also forces people to be a little bit more team-oriented and really strategize how you want to do your loadouts. Because before, the best loadout for a raid is basically whatever primary, a high damage sniper rifle, and a rocket launcher is like the go-to raid loadout for all 4 of the raids. So, and while this is effective, it also drastically increases the amount of damage output you have per phase on a boss, as long as everyone's in complete unison and everyone's working together. So, by changing the format, what this means is that we will no longer be able to pair a sniper rifle with a rocket launcher, so it means that we have to divide the team's roles up a little bit more accordingly for the situation. And remember, guys, a lot of people are basing this new weapon format off what we currently know for Destiny's current raids. We don't know anything about how the raids are going to be set up. We don't know how raid format's going to work for Destiny 2, and we don't know whether they're going to be more mechanic heavy or whether they're going to be more damage heavy. So keep that in mind before you guys start getting upset. But now it's going to force teams to designate people for different roles. So you maybe want to go in with 2 people that have sniper rifles for high damage output. You want 2 people with rocket launchers for high hard hitting damage output. So there you got your massive damage for boss DPS down right there, and there's 4 people that can manage that, while the other 2 plug away at with primaries. So then the last 2 members of the team, maybe someone has a shotgun for ad control and someone else has a grenade launcher for ad control. So there you got ad control and boss DPS down, and it forces you to strategize your team a little bit more and kind of designate and go, okay, so who's going to do this? If you're a good shot with a sniper rifle or say a linear fusion rifle, go ahead and use those, and then basically designate your team a little bit more evenly, so that way everyone in the team has a role other than everyone's got a sniper rifle. Everyone has to have a sniper rifle and rocket launcher so we can do as much damage as possible, and if you don't, you're not in the party. This means that we have to strategize and have to organize. Now, that's not to say that you have to necessarily have someone with weapon loadouts for ad control. You might be able to run it with everyone running high impact sniper rifles or linear fusion rifles. But I think the goal they were going for is to create a more team-oriented environment and really bring out that strategy, that what raiding means. Because right now the raids are very mechanic heavy and damage output on the boss phases. So I'm hoping to see that they work a little bit more on the mechanics end going into the raid in Destiny 2, as well as damage or scaling the boss's health accordingly with the new weapon setup. So that way they don't have so much health that you can't get a shot in on them, but at the same time that they're not so weak that you can one-phase them with a team that barely knows what they're doing and just knows how to point a sniper rifle and shoot. So there you go, guys. I thought this would give you a little bit of insight into my thoughts as to what Bungie's thinking, maybe from a developmental standpoint. For the player base, I know a lot of PvE people are really worried about this new setup. But I'm telling you guys, just hold out, see what it looks like, because I think this is going to be a really good thing. I think it's going to benefit both Crucible and PvE, and it's also going to bring a new challenge and strategy element. And if you look at Cammy Cakes Gaming, he said he had a video made talking about how PvE is a little bit too easy for him. He doesn't find it challenging enough, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there that feel the same. You get a lot of teams that do raid carries through the weekend and things like that, and while they don't think it's too, they enjoy doing raid carries, it's so easy that they can breeze through it and carry a team of people that don't know what they're doing. So, I mean, if they really want to make it more challenging and really keep people busy, and make it that staple of the expansion of the game that they want it to be, they want the raid to be the toughest challenge you go through in your time in Destiny 2. Each time they put out a new raid. And if they really want to stick with that, I think that by adding these new elements and making it a little bit more challenging, they're getting closer to achieving that goal of that being the end, the big moment in the game where you finally do the raid. You work your ass off, get to the end and get that loot, and it's challenging and it's heart racing and it gets you going. So I think that that's what they're going for, and I think it'll be a good thing. So, alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and your viewership means a lot to me. So, definitely keep checking out my videos. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any of the content. A like rating would be greatly appreciated. It helps me out a lot. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you all later, and I'll see you in the next one.